Hi everybody, welcome back to Laura A Vlogs. I am finally back for another vlog with you guys. I am with a special guest, if everyone can see here. He is my ex-partner for 12 years.
Like 14 years. Even with
No,
friendship.
with
like about 12 years.
12 years. We were romantic, and then we'll explain the story. His name is Chaos.
Yes, Chaos from the Chaos Consortium, yes.
So the reason for this video is because a lot of times that we in normal society, we always have this stigma of like, well, when you end a relationship, you cannot be friends with your ex. And so it depends on the situation. Now, I'm gonna do a quick disclaimer. So please, anybody who views this video, if you're in a toxic situation that you are being abused physically, emotionally, spiritually, or you've been in relationships that are people that are not mature, that act like children, that ghost you, manipulate you, use you. This is not the video for you to receive this stuff, our experiences, and think it's okay to fix the situation that you're in. If you're not safe with your partners that treating you in those manners, leave and get help, because we don't want to put out a video and have you guys feel that by our experience that you could fix any individual that don't want to be fixed. This is more of a video for people who are mature, who takes responsibility, who compromise, who willing to see things in different perspectives.
Communicate.
And especially communication. So this will be the video to watch for people who are going through that. Okay, so just want to make sure that this is a very clear video for everyone to see. And maybe people who had left these type of situations that are very toxic may benefit just thinking about things that maybe want to change for the future for yourself, because this is more of an internal thing of wanting to change certain aspects about yourself. Alrighty, so we're gonna get started. So I met lovely Chaos.
Which, by the way, we're using Chaos for, of course, safety reasons and my channel, but just more for safety reasons, not to disclose my real name. Thank you very much. I met Laura A Vlogs here over 12 years ago. We were in a program together to try to get back to work, type of a deal, and it was very strange. It was very strange. I was in the back of the room, the classroom, and she's in front. And we're just busy listening to whatever they were teaching us. She noticed from time to time that I had a brain in the back, half asleep, Mr. Rip Van Winkle. I used to spend my time asleep in the back of the class, but I digress. So we eventually started talking to each other, and it progressed into something a little bit more. A full-fledged relationship.
Now, the thing is that at that time, I've been single. At that time, I was single for 4 years after being away from my toxic relationship with my second child's father. So I was pretty much trying to figure myself out, trying to get myself together. And unfortunately, I was unemployed at the time. So I was trying to focus on pretty much getting my life together. And so, like he said, we just happened to meet at a place that we were trying to get our lives, situated, get back to the real world. And, we were both coming from a place that we were both hurt for different reasons. And mine is just me trying to get over the abuse that I've been through. I mentioned to you guys time again that I suffer with PTSD and major depression. And little did I know at the time that Chaos was going through his own demons. And, yes, we got together really quick, but we didn't know how our relationship was going to become toxic in its own way, because of the fact that we weren't able to resolve our own individual situations, pretty much internally.
Yeah, it was more of our own little fears of many, many things, our own mental and emotional states. We were not ready. I'm honest. I'm always honest about what I was going through. I was in the middle of trying to get myself free from self-medication and work on sobriety. It wasn't easy. She later, in our relationship, she had opened herself up and let me in and took me in and to her home as well. I stayed with her, and I had actually asked her to marry me. She's my ex-fiance, by the way, and best friend. She took me in at a really bad time in my life, as well as she was going through, as she said, many of her childhood traumas, past relationship issues that have been really bad. And I was literally just starting to be sober. So it was a real rough time in my life. I realized later that she opened up her heart and mind and soul to me, and I didn't know what to do with it at the beginning of our relationship. It wasn't until after the fog and the haze kind of dissipated from my mind and my heart and my emotions that I was able to see this, but it was a little too late.
Now, at that time, I was going through a lot of changes as well. Me losing, I lost both parents back to back. Also, with the situation with work, it was really, really rough. Plus, being a single mom, taking care of my two sons, it was a challenge and a half. And then to turn around and not deal with all the things that I've been through with, toxic exes and losing parents and my own, well-being, I pretty much repressed a lot of feelings at that time. And I wasn't able to decompress everything because at that time I was on survivor mode. So all I kept thinking is, I have to survive this. I have to get through my challenges because it was like over the top. And then to see Chaos go through his own challenges, it was really hard. But the thing was that I'm the type of person that I don't like to see anyone suffer, and I cared about him and still care about him, his well-being. So I turned around and said, yes, come stay with me, stay with us. And, I was really falling in love with him, but we had our struggles that we couldn't resolve.
It was really hard on us both. One, me learning to see things sober, enjoy things sober. Her, with her issue. So we were both overlapping our demons, issues, diseases, whatever you could have to each other, and it put a strain on our relationship. I later on did the best I could to make amends for the early parts of our relationship because I wasn't the greatest at that. I was still drinking and self-medicating at the onset of our relationship. It wasn't until I moved in here where clarity started to kick in. She was dealing with past relationship issues, which really put a big, heavy weight upon my end on top of everything I already had added myself. We did have arguments, we did have verbal confrontations, but it never got into fisticuffs. I was raised a little different, and that was one of the issues I had brought up with her a lot, because she had a lot of past relationships with men. Well, not a lot, but more of the relationships she had with them were a little heavy, and they were a bit abusive. You know, to a point where she had put up a lot of walls. And I added on that she had switches instead of dials. It wasn't until later in our relationship that she was finally opening up the door. Instead of just having a wall, she opened up a door. And that switch turned into a dial. And me, I became more understanding, more open, finally understanding who the hell I was and where my lot in this whole thing was. And I started to work with her and communicate with her. We still butted heads till the end. And it wasn't until I finally found my own place to live that it hit for her. And for me to continue, regardless of all the bad words, regardless of all the pushing away that was said and done, to still wipe my hands of that and be there.
Yeah, because the thing was that at the time, you know, like I said, and he said that we were like so consumed with so much negativity with each other that it became very overwhelming.
And our own negativities.
Yes. And so there was no place, no real outlet that we had. We didn't have the tools to learn how to cope with these things, to say, hey, you know, something's not right. How can we fix it? We just pretty much pushed each other away because of the reaction, because we were, well, I'm going to speak for me. I was raised to be seen and not heard.
Same here.
And the thing is, like, I didn't learn until now, after, you know, creating this channel, that it's okay to express your feelings. You know, I pretty much always repressed whatever thoughts that I had, whether they're good or bad, and not be able to express it, not even to him. And I think at his own level, he did try to communicate with me, but also at the same time, he was also struggling to communicate clear in his own way.
Yeah, I had been seen and not heard a very majority of my life. And I was just trying to figure out who the hell I was and where I stood in my own life. And trying to do this while working to be sober wasn't an easy thing. I even asked her if she still wanted me to be there with her, move in with her, because I already knew, foresight told me that I was going to go through a lot of hell, and I don't know if she's able to cope with it. And it showed on both ends. We had a hard time coping with her abuse from the relationship she's been in, and growing up in a society back in the 80s, 70s, 90s, as it was, 60s for you, right?
I was born in the 60s, late 60s.
There you go, 60s. Late 60s, mid 70s.
Nobody knows.
we grew up in an era where, you know, seen and not heard, and, you know, pressured in a way to follow certain doctrines, disciplines,
yes,
respects, manners,
because the thing is that in the Spanish culture, and I'm sure it translates to whatever culture throughout the world, that you have to follow a certain norm regarding to respect. And then if you speak your opinion to your parents,
speak out of turn.
Yeah, they think it's speaking out of turn, but the thing is expressing your feelings. It was shown as some form of disrespect.
Yeah. It was a big shock, big disrespect. You either got the belt or the chancla.
The chancla means slippers.
Flip flop.
And so that's why I said I had learned to repress a lot of these things in my life that I could not say anything. Not even with my marriage when I was married to my first husband. I didn't even share anything because of that form of being raised that I would
transferred into our relationship.
Yeah, so it wasn't something that I did it intentionally. It just was an automatic thing.
Because it's been drilled in us, this form of discipline, that now it's not even accepted as it was back in the day. Now it's more like, why are you even still thinking in that manner and being oppressed and suppressed? Today it's open. Everything's different nowadays. It's called the hookup culture now. Whatever. Anyway, it was different for us. We suffered it. And it showed in our relationship, is what we're getting at here. She had hers and I had mine. And we butted heads several times. But I was raised differently. I was raised by a mother and a grandmother, 2 females. So I was more open to trying to communicate. Not just get into a fight where it ended up fisticuffs or just slamming doors or running out the house or
No, it wasn't something like that we did here.
We never did that. We tried. I pushed a little too much to try to communicate and compromise, which in turn, with her walls and the way things had happened to her, kind of shut her down. And I learned to slowly back off, let her work through whatever she was going through. Then little by little, I started noticing that wall chip a little until it turned into a door where I got a crack. That switch started turning into a dial. And the same kind of thing happened to me too. Because I had walls of my own. I had several switches of my own. Something in me said, I gotta stop this. I snapped out of it. I gotta have dials. I gotta open the door a few times. Let the air in. So she started to see that. And it wasn't till the end of our relationship when I eventually, like I said before, found a place to live. And I was going to go 700 miles away, that it hit.
But let me say this. It did not hit in the worst way. You know, most people will say, well, finally he leaves. Good riddance, that fucker. You know, something like that. I didn't take it like that.
I want to be blunt. She cried. She was unhappy. She was miserable. But she was also happy for me.
Yes. Because I feel, in a sense, that with so much misery that we felt within ourselves and towards each other towards the end, all I wanted was for him to be happy.
And so did I. I wanted for me to be happy also. No, her too. I mean, this is not just a one-way street. This is what we're trying to convey to y'all. That things are a little different now. There are some of us that actually can... Of course, there's speed bumps along the way. Work out being in a relationship after being in a monogamous relationship.
Now, how we got to this point is basically we had, before he left...
Trial and error,
but we also had that little sit down here that we really poured out everything, how we felt about this relationship that we were in. We pretty much took responsibilities on our parts, not just me taking me and him taking him.
You always heard the man up. This is how it was back in the day. Now it's changed into man up, woman up. But now you take responsibility for your actions is the actual term. We took responsibility for our actions, our emotions, our words, our thoughts, etc. We took responsibility, and we sat there. We joked like kids, but we spoke as adults as well.
Yeah.
And we got through a lot of the past issues that we had. She apologized profusely.
Yes, I have.
To how I was treated by her, and me by being an overbearing, etc. to her, because I wasn't the greatest. I was neurotic. I was out of my mind. trying to be sober. I haven't been sober for over like 20 years. To automatically, like that, one day just switch to being sober wasn't easy for me. I had to relax. I had to calm down.
And just having that space between us, that him moving to a different state and me residing here in New York City, you know, it helped us to really think. And especially when pandemic hit, that we were all confined in our homes, I had plenty of time to reflect a lot of things, not just the relationship with chaos, but also all the other relationships that I've been through, and the things that made me think and say, you know, something's got to change.
There was one thing that I kept on saying to her through our relationship all the time. I'm not like those men that you've been with before. It didn't hit until I had to leave. How I treated her was totally different to a lot of the men that she's been in relationships with. I don't know how far she's told you her stories, but her, you know, the father of her second child, the father of her first child.
They got a gist of a. If you want, I'll link the playlist and you can check it out.
So those men had their own issues of their own and treated her and mistreated her and used her as the excuse to throw at her, let all that baggage and hit her with it. I was different. I was aware of these things. Very different to a lot of males. I am not perfect. There is no such a thing in this world.
And this is why I always say in this channel that perfection doesn't exist. And eventually I would like to do some merchandise on that in the future. But perfection does not exist, because in any person, in any relationship, I don't care what walks of life you come from. You could be the poorest person or the richest person. If they try to say, oh, you know, my life is beautiful, you know, it's perfect, it's pristine, they're full of it. Nobody has a wonderful life to the fullest. If you do, you're very much blessed. But majority of this world, we all got, you know, demons that we try to fight each day. We fight challenges each day. And when it comes to perfection, you'll never find it.
No. Well, that's where being 700 miles away gave her the space she finally needed for me to grow, and for me as well. I grew a lot in the years I've been away from my mother and her youngest son, which, by the way, I helped to raise. She allowed me to be a part of his life, and he has continued that and let me be a part of his life.
Yes, because the thing is that this is what we try to do, is blend families regardless. You know, my son, you guys already seen a video that I put out with my son Brandon, that he's not his biological father. But I see it as like this, that it doesn't have to take blood to be a good father. And he knows I always was mentioning that the position of being a good father is being there for a child. And you could be someone that just came off the street, and pretty much he did. He pretty much came in
off the street
and he took, you know, he took willingly the responsibility of being a dad to my son. And my son since then has loved him unconditionally and has accepted him as his father. And eventually I'll put a picture towards the end of this video of us, you know, on his graduation day. This is why he's in town.
Yeah, that's why I'm here, for that, for the growth of that, and to hang out with my best friend and hang out with my son, see him graduate. I'm so proud of him, and I'm proud of her for where she's gotten to now. She has her own music channel, by the way. Check her out on that.
It's a music reaction channel he's talking about.
Yeah, music.
You guys already know that.
And how both her sons have grown up, matured, and gone to be members of society. well, whatever that is nowadays, because it used to be something else back in the day, and how our relationship has turned out. I have grown. I have learned to acknowledge being alone, working through those feelings, not being afraid anymore to be alone, and acknowledging all of it.
And this is where I think anybody who's going through this situation that are separating from a loved one, you know, you got to be the mature couple to say, you know what, it's not working. Take responsibility with each in each other's aspects of why the relationship failed. Also,
it's take responsibility for your actions, for your words, for your tones, volumes, mannerisms, everything. Take responsibility and then work through that. Get past the fear and then communicate with each other about it. This relationship that we have is not a piece of work.
no, it's not. And don't
It
think
takes
that
a lot to work and communicate with each other.
Exactly.
I still kind of get on her nerves, which is true. I'm not gonna lie, I do it. She gets on my nerves, you know, because she's my best friend. I care about her. I still do to this day. We're not in a relationship. We're not going back to that. But I care about her in the respect, take care of your health. I get on her case about it. I take, watch yourself. Don't overexert yourself. Sleep, etc. Whatever you have, I'm a best friend and I'm going to still concern and worry and bring it up. She gets annoyed at it. It's fine. I have to relax. That's the way it is. This is how we've been able to work on continuing our relationship as souls, beings of light, human beings, entities on this planet, to still communicate with each other.
And so our advice to anybody who is going through this time that you are separating from a loved one, give each other that space. Give each other that space. Do is pretty much take responsibility as adults. Learn to compromise. Because if you have children, compromise is very important for those kids in order to have a healthy relationship as adults. It doesn't mean that you're going to one-up each other or backstab each other to make a compromise. It does not work. It will never work. Any form of toxicity that use children against each other will never work.
No.
And I think we need to change our mindset as adults that yes, we could change the way we see the world now, that we can evolve as better human beings and learn to accept each other as is. I might not be, like he's not my fiance anymore, but he is a good friend. And I will always respect him for that.
Same over here, as well as she said, like in the beginning, this is not a template or an outline for somebody to go off half-cocked with what we're saying to either leave your relationships or use this against anybody else. This is just our experience and we're just communicating it. Maybe somebody will have some insight from our
perspectives and maybe might help in a way of seeing your own world in a better perspective, and maybe make changes within yourselves, because this is not about you changing another person. This is more of changing yourself.
Growth,
and learn to adjust for the better.
And evolve. That's what she's saying. Evolve. This world is changing. We're all growing. Things are changing. Like, I've seen these weird little battles between Gen Z and Gen X. Just grow up, Gen Z. Gen X has been stayed in the background. We're cool to fade away because we see the greater picture. Just time to evolve. All of it.
And that is pretty much it on our video. So anyone who watches this video, you guys know what to do. And I want to thank Chaos.
Hi, thank you again.
What is the name of your channel?
Chaos 74X on Twitch, Chaos Consortium on YouTube. Check me out.
In case you like gaming, because he does a lot of gaming, and maybe he might change, add some other content in his channel.
Yeah, it's just live content, live IRL, me having fun with you.
Alrighty. So thank you again for viewing my content, and I'll catch you guys soon on the next vlog. Bye.